On the morning of August 12, 2000, during the Russian Navy's summer naval exercise in the Barents Sea, the Oscar, the second-class submarine Kursk, disappeared while performing a practice torpedo launch. The submarine, considered unsinkable and crewed by 118 experienced sailors, had been cleared to fire 2 dummy torpedoes at the aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov. At 11:29 a.m., an explosion was detected, followed by a second, more powerful blast just 2 minutes later that sent shockwaves around the world. International offers of assistance were quickly extended, but Russian authorities initially refused them, although survival may have been unlikely. The disorganized state of the Navy and a weakening government helped seal the fate of Kursk and her crew. It would take years before the full truth about that tragic morning was finally known. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was deeply concerned about the threat posed by American aircraft carriers, which could deliver thermonuclear strikes and hunt Soviet ballistic missile submarines. In response, the USSR developed specialized weapons to neutralize such threats. One solution was the Project 949A anti-class nuclear-powered cruise missile submarines, known to NATO as the Oscar, the second class. These submarines were powered by 2 OK-650 nuclear reactors, generating 97,990 horsepower and enabling speeds of up to 33 knots underwater. These massive vessels were 508 feet long, about 60 feet wide, and displaced 19,400 tons, twice the size of a destroyer. Each Oscar, the second submarine, could carry 24 P-700 Granite missiles, each the size of a small aircraft. These 33-foot, 15,400-pound missiles could travel at Mach 1.6 with a range of 388 miles. Guided by satellite targeting, they could be armed with either a 1,652-pound high-explosive warhead or a 500-kiloton nuclear warhead capable of destroying an aircraft carrier with a single hit. Though the USSR originally planned to build 20 Oscar-class submarines, only were completed by the end of the Cold War. Kursk, designated K-141, was among the last and was completed in 1994. She joined the Northern Fleet that same year and quickly earned a reputation as one of the most formidable submarines in service. Kursk was considered unsinkable, featuring a double-hull design with a 0.3-inch outer hull, a 2-inch thick inner hull, and a space of 3 to 7 feet between them. The inner hull was divided into 9 watertight compartments. Kursk was twice the size of a jumbo jet and 3 times larger than the biggest American submarine. She became a symbol of pride for the Russian Navy and was the largest attack submarine in the world. However, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Russian Navy faced massive budget cuts that severely impacted maintenance across the fleet. Once proud vessels began falling into disrepair. On August 12, 2004, the first time since the Soviet Union's fall, a large-scale naval exercise was conducted, involving the Kursk, the Admiral Kuznetsov aircraft carrier, and the battle pier. The fleet assembled in the Barents Sea, above the Arctic Circle. Kursk had recently received recognition for her outstanding performance, and her crew was regarded as the best in the Northern Fleet. She was also one of the few submarines allowed to carry live combat weapons at all times. Although the exercise was a simulation, Kursk was fully armed with Granite missiles and torpedoes. Manned by 118 skilled sailors, the submarine received approval to perform a torpedo training launch. The crew loaded a Type 65 torpedo, known as Fat Girl, into tube number 4. Though the torpedo was inert, it still measured 35 feet in length and weighed about 5 tons. At 11:29 a.m. a significant underwater explosion was picked up by seismic stations, including those in Norway. Just under 2 minutes later, a second, much more powerful explosion occurred. The second blast was equivalent to a 4.2 magnitude earthquake, or 2 to 3 tons of TNT, and it was 250 times stronger than the first. Its shockwaves were detected as far away as Alaska. Aboard the submarine Karelia, The crew assumed the explosions were part of the exercise. On the battlecruiser, however, a hydroacoustic signal and a hull shutter revealed something had gone wrong. Piotr Veliky reported the event, but the warning was dismissed. Data later confirmed that the explosion had occurred at seabed depth. By 1:30 p.m., there was no communication from Kursk, and her scheduled time had expired. Admiral Popov, aboard Piotr Veliky, was not immediately alarmed, attributing it to common communication issues. Nonetheless, a helicopter and a rescue ship were sent to investigate, but found nothing. An aircraft was deployed at 5 p.m., and, by 6 p.m., when Kursk missed a scheduled check-in, the fleet's concern intensified. Still, it wasn't until 10:30 p.m. that a state of emergency was officially declared, and the exercise was halted. A search and rescue operation began, involving the entire Northern Fleet and 3,000 personnel. The international community quickly extended offers of assistance. The United States, Britain, France, Norway, and other countries contacted the Russian government. The US even proposed sending a deep submergence rescue vehicle, but Russian officials declined all foreign aid. What followed was a long period marked by confusion, miscommunication, and bureaucratic delays. Initially, the Russian Navy downplayed the seriousness of the incident. Admiral Popov informed Defense Minister Igor Sergeyev late Saturday night, but President Vladimir Putin, who had recently taken office, wasn't informed until Sunday morning. At the time, Putin was on vacation and was advised to remain there, a decision that would later damage his public image. Meanwhile, Popov addressed the press, describing the naval exercise as a great success. Yet, suspicions were already growing. Among the families of the missing sailors, who feared something had gone terribly wrong. At the small naval base in Vyjayevo, families and loved ones shared whatever little information they had, trying to remain hopeful. They believed that since Kursk was thought to be unsinkable, the situation couldn't be as dire as it seemed. As fruitless attempts to locate the submarine continued, officials finally issued a statement about the accident on Monday, August 14th, 2 days after the explosions. Authorities claimed Kursk was experiencing minor technical issues and had made a controlled descent to the seafloor. They falsely assured the public that contact had been made with the crew, and that the submarine still had air and power. Multiple explanations for the disaster were circulated. Admiral Vladimir Kuroyedov, head of the Russian Navy, claimed that an external collision was to blame. Others, looking to worsen relations between Russia and the West, suggested Kursk had collided with a NATO submarine. Vice Premier Ilya Klebanov proposed that the submarine had struck a World War II radar mine. None of these theories proved true, but the real cause wouldn't come to light for some time. A week after the disaster, President Putin acknowledged the severity of the situation and allowed British and Norwegian specialists to join the rescue efforts. Though the divers had little hope of finding survivors, they were devastated to find the rescue trunk flooded. When they managed to cut into the hull, they discovered only ashes and charred human remains. On August 21st, the loss of Kursk and its 118 sailors was officially confirmed in a televised address. Admiral Popov faced the nation and said, "Forgive me for not bringing back your boys." August 23rd was declared a national day of mourning. A few days later, President Putin posthumously awarded the Hero of Russia Medal to Kursk's commander, Gennady Lyachin, and the Order of Courage to the remaining 117 sailors. The wreck of Kursk remained at the bottom of the sea until September 26, 2001, when it was raised to facilitate the investigation. However, the front section of the submarine, where the initial explosion had occurred, had to be cut off and was left behind. This meant crucial evidence was lost. The actual cause of the disaster was not revealed until the summer of 2002. A leak from an old torpedo containing hydrogen peroxide, a highly volatile fuel long banned by other navies, was identified as the source of the initial explosion. The torpedo had faulty welding, which led to the ignition of the fuel and set off the rest of the munitions on board. A series of compounding factors worsened the situation: disabled safety systems, overlooked maintenance checks, and poor handling of critical equipment. The initial blast did not kill everyone on board. 23 sailors survived in the ninth compartment. Among them was Captain Lieutenant Dmitry Kolesnikov, who managed to write notes in the dark, explaining that the crew had not attempted to escape because the water pressure was too great, and they believed rescue was still possible. They managed to survive for several hours in the cold depths, trying to restart the submarine's oxygen generation system. Tragically, in doing so, they caused a chemical explosion and flash fire that consumed the last of the oxygen. The Russian Navy's handling of the incident drew widespread condemnation. Several officials were removed, reassigned, or dismissed. The Kursk disaster forced Russia to confront the severe deficiencies within its naval forces. Yet it would take nearly 10 years for the Ministry of Defense to implement a large-scale modernization of the fleet and begin restoring its crumbling naval infrastructure. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to all our Doug Documentaries channels for more fascinating stories about military *history.